You know, for a movie that promised to be a Cthulhu Eldritch horror story, it really was just kind of a zombie movie, alternate zombie film about how they are really fish people that wear the skin of humans with a really weird CGI god. Let's talk about Dagon. What's going on, Dungeon Dwellers? Welcome back to Dave's Dungeon. I am, as always, your host, the one, the only, Dungeon Master Dave. And we are back to talk to you again about another one of these spooky ass films. Boy, man, oh man, this one does it. This one's a good one. And I have to say right off the bat, gore warning. And it ain't even that much gore in this film, but gore warning. This one has a scene that will literally make your face itch. Okay? I don't make the rules. I'm just telling you. It is going to make you itch in weird ways and feel certain ways about certain things, okay? This movie is not playing around. It's not kidding, even though it feels like it is at certain times. Like, from the title card, I felt like I was watching an asylum film, and the intro card needs to be changed. That needs to be so much different. It really felt like I was going into some sci-fi production of a low-budget film, but this really wasn't that. This had practical effects. And here I am punching the mic again with sheer verbal force. It had practical effects. It had sort of CG effects. They were not quite CG, given it was 2001. And I have to forgive the movie some of its bad CGI and some of its awkwardness, given how old this film is. But at the same time, you could have done so much of this a little bit simpler and just a little bit more serious, and it would have come off and been exquisitely that much better. But it has its problems. And again, I'm not going to say this is a bad film. I'm really not saying this is a bad film. It's a good film. Go watch it. Just be ready for some gore. If you've never seen me do one of these reviews, I don't just talk about the films. I review them based on a score or a criteria of 5 points. And that is plot, special effects, tension, gore, and victim, killer, ending, resolution, scenario, etc. I use this as a however else I wish to punish or reward the movie. And then I give a total score and a grade, and from there you can decide from yourself. This first part won't have any spoilers. That's for you. I'll tell you when I'm going into the spoiler section, so stay tuned if you are into talking about this film in any kind of depth. Because for the most part, the plot of this film just kind of drops you off in it. No real development. Just, we're here, it's happening, and then deal with it. I can't really say there's much to it, and I don't mind that. Some horror films, the plot kind of hangs around too long, and I say that because we're not always here to be storied to death, so to speak. We want to be actually murdered. And that being said, this film does a little bit of that, and it does try to story you to death at the end. I thought it was really gonna play you off, storying you to death and everybody just going mad, but nope, does not. It absolutely does not. But even with that, even with that sort of head fake that it caused me to have, some of it's just too asinine. It's just too asinine, and for that reason, I'm gonna give it a 7. Because it just got slapstick at certain points, and it really got to me, man. It really did. I was laughing so hard. I was laughing because, and this is an unfortunate effect of comedy and horror. It just completely flattened all the scariness out of it, and it gets slow around the mid bit. It really does. It gets real slow around the mid bit, and I wish it would, shorten some of that a little bit. We don't need every scenario played all the way out. I could do with a small edit cut of this that would have made it that much better to watch. Not saying any particular one part of this is bad, just little things, man, would have improved this. The special effects. I really feel like the special effects did an okay job. I won't say it was I won't say it was the best job, but I won't say it was a bad job either. For every good effect you get 1.5 really bad ones. And that's not necessarily with the practical effects so much as it is the CGI and where the CGI meets the practical. This is not a movie that uses practical effects well with CGI. It uses practical effects well and then CGI at where it must. Where it absolutely must. And I hate those CGI effects. I wish someone would come along and remake this movie just as it is and just re-update the CGI to something more substantial that was actually, some kind of like realistically believable to some extent. But nah, it's a small gripe. I'm still gonna give the special effects a 7 because of how goofy some of these look, and some of you are gonna love that. And this is where I'm only taking a little bit out of where it took me out of the film. Just that much. It's not necessarily that I found every silly one obtrusive. I can't say that word right now. Jesus, I shouldn't be obtrusive. Um, I didn't find every single silly thing, to nitpick on, but there were times it pulled me straight out of it. The tension is overall pretty good. I feel like from the initial, it ramps up well. We stay in it for a pretty good long time. But you lose me. We're in the midpoint where I said it slowed down. I feel like that's where I'm gonna take some points off. Because it just kind of falls away, the tension. Not for any particular reason, not like the movie dispelled it. But I don't know why it just kind of deflated. You could say it became cripple almost. The gore on this is a 9, and as I said before, gore warning from hell. It's got a bad gore warning. This film does a good bit of throwing a haymaker in certain moments of gore, and some of the special effects are to generate a type of gore that is unique to Eldritch horror, but not ever present in the rest of horror, so to speak. Let me see if I can clean that up. It's got a special kind of gore that is unique to it that the rest of horror doesn't necessarily travel in. And because of that, you get extra sort of gore on top of the normal type. And because it's all practical, you get a sort of interplay between them. And it's very, very good the way it was done. And you'll know how that interplay works from the moment go is uttered, because I mean, the movie does every bit but signal it, Some of the things in this film, gore-wise, are kind of hard to deal with, and if you're any kind of squeamish about body stuff or about nudity, viewer discretion is advised on that. It wasn't necessarily that bad, but at the same time, it can be disturbing to watch, so I would recommend you take that at your own pace. The victim and killer was not bad. It wasn't. I would have rather saw more, and I would have rather it been practical, for God's sakes. But I have to forgive a movie from 2001 for trying to be that ambitious. I mean, they really went for it. They really went for it. And between all the practical effects and all the people in this film, they really went for it. So with that, I'm going to give the gore a 9. And I'm going to give the victim and the killer also a 9. So that's going to bring us to a score of 40 out of 50 for a B-. Is there anything else I can talk to you about in this non-spoiler section before I have to transform? I feel like the ending needed work. That's really where this film kind of lost a little bit of its tension score and a bit of its victim killer score, is from that sort of ending problem. So if, as with all horror films, it's kind of goes without saying, starting them off as a pain in the ass, but ending them's the real bitch. Because you just never know what to do. It can go 8 different ways. So I really like this film, and I really think you should go see it. I put it in my B drawer because I really think it is that B-level horror, and it's everything you love from B-level horror. It totally reminded me of The Reanimator, and if you've never seen that film, that is a movie royalty in horror, okay? In the rest of the world may consider it a B film. That is a movie royalty. Reanimator is a fucking phenomenal film, and everybody needs to see that film. That being said, this reminds me of that. This has those elements. It has that Lovecraftian note. Okay, but let's talk into spoilers. I don't want to spoil too much. I don't want to go into it until we're free and clear. So without further ado, thank you for watching this. Make sure you leave that like. Make sure you're subscribed. It helps me out and tells YouTube to show my stuff to other people. Thank you for joining me on the adventure. But for now, run away. Flee for your lives. Shoo. Spoilers. Oh, let's get into talking about this film for actual now. That motherfucker had gills. Like that knocked me in the head. I looked up. I was in the middle of setting up my review page and setting up sort of things, and we were kind of at a slow bit of the film, so I looked down and I'm typing in something, and he's walking in and saying something to somebody, and I look up and I see gills, and I have to roll it back to see if I missed anything between here and there, and the guy had gills. Oh, it just messed with me from the moment go, and I was like, how? He's got gills. That guy over there has gills. And it's like, yeah, he's a fish guy. And then the main character doesn't even like compute. He has like the bead on it from the moment go. But he had no reason to, because he's such a freaking idiot. And I go into great detail about this. Let's go into a hotel room. And what do? Yeah, let's not even lock the door. Let's not even close it. I literally wrote down, you did not even close that door, much less lock it. I hope they come and kill your ass now. And it really screamed sort of the opening of the film. How was he okay with all of that? My man was willing to put up with some shit. Like, he's just dealing with this guy's neck's like, and just, that was weird. Let me get in my room. But once you get past that sort of initial, like I say, horror films really, really have it bad when it comes to these things. So I tend not to harp on them too bad. For God's sakes, how did Chucky get at a yard sale? Yeah, don't come for me, Don Mancini. I will come for you. Let's not call out too many people. Yeah, and then I literally like wrote it down a few more times because somebody else comes in and they got like the webbing between their hands and all that stuff. They all had gills. They were fish dudes, man, and I love that. That was a good twist on it felt like a zombie film, but it felt like it it didn't feel like they were zombies. It felt like they had a reasonable definition for being fish people, but at the same time it felt like the old zombie film where you're dealing with a endless horde of slow moving, kind of strong, you know, gross horrors. You get what I'm saying? It had the same gooiness. Yeah, it had that uncomfortable. Ouch! Ouch! That was my phone. You hit me with a phone, Dick. But yeah, what was I saying before I hurt myself? Oh yeah, yeah, it had the same kind of gooiness that makes you feel uncomfortable. I really, really, really like that. They felt wet. Everything in the film felt wet, and that was a unique sort of touch. The audio kept playing where you'd hear somebody step and it'd sound like a wet carpet, like you know, you'd hear the just the softest little details. It was doing such a good job with the overall plot and film notes and sort of scoring and shot design. It's a breathtaking film. It's got some beautiful shots that it just throws some really garbage CG into. Ooh, that CG is bad. Oh crap! I didn't tell anybody in the first half of this. Of course, because I wrote it down on the spoiler section. This is gonna be bad. Some of y'all are gonna really hate me. Turn on the subtitles. This film is hard enough to understand. I don't really want to even say there's a language barrier on its own that this film switches between English and Spanish, or I don't want to say Spanish. I don't even know if it's Spanish, because it also switches to the sort of eldritch speech as well. So it's softened sort of Spanish, Mexican, Puerto Rican, you know, Colombian maybe even, but I'm pretty sure it's a Spanish word. Or not Spanish word. I'm pretty sure they're speaking a dialect of Spanish. So you want the subtitles on because some of these people have the thickest accents of anybody I've ever heard with an accent. Not particularly these types, but just accents in general. I've heard some really thick accents, and these people have some of the thickest. Bit like Vin Diesel talking while a blender's on. That thick. Yeah, there were some really uncomfortable moments. You get some, you know, hey dude, don't do that moments. I really, really think that we should make a new horror rule that if you see a crazy looking hot chick in your dreams, it's your mission in life now not to make out with that person. Like if they're up here and they're scaring you and like things are coming out of their mouths and they're attacking you and all these other things are happening, let's make it a rule that that's now the person you're not allowed to kiss or make out with or do anything with in any kind of like intimate or romantic way, okay? You having dreams about a spooky person? Let's stay away from spooky person. Oh man. And then like the really uncomfortable stuff in this film, like Dagon needs a son. He needs a son. Do 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 do. Let's not think about that. Ooh, 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 ooh. No, let's not contemplate that. But the film's like, no. No, no, no. You're gonna think about that. Not only are you gonna think about that, you're gonna have to watch parts of that happen. It is uncomfortable, peeps. It is uncomfortable. And some of the gore, like, comes to that. The one gore moment that just sort of sent me into I need to warn people when they get into this film is there's one scene where they're literally taking the skin off a guy, and they're cutting his face off, and they've incised here, and they've split him like this around and cut up this way, and they're peeling this back, and you can see, and notice my hands are like right here in front of my eyeballs, but you can see the teeth and all of this in blood, and it's extra. It's a little extra. If you don't see my teeth, you definitely don't see this point. You definitely don't see this point. Because it'll mess your shit up. And I was not ready for it. I was like, oh, they'll cut away. It'll be some silly effect. And then no, they're like, practical. Yeah, no. It was just, whoa. It went places, man. And they kind of warm you up to it. You see it having been already performed, and you see the skin hanging earlier. So I guess it does like sort of gun and act one you. But let's see what else. Yeah, and then you find out the family stuff, and you kind of go full crazy. And I have to say something, and if you can see it, of course, I'm still doing it wrong. Let's go back this way. Yoink. That's right there. If you see this artwork here, the main guy, the main actor here, he looks like the guy from the Reanimator. I was like, son of Reanimator, what? And if you've not seen that film, again, please. And part of that comes down, part of the reason I keep bringing that up is because he seems like the most unlikely of guys to be in this situation. And then he seems like the most unlikely of guys to have survived it for this long. And then you get kind of why he survives it and what's going on. And I have to say, it builds to a good end cap, but it doesn't end well. I can't say that ending made much sense at all. Paul, I have to say this, the main character Paul is playing Bloodborne throughout this entire film. He is literally rolling to survive. He's making trick weapons. I swear he's a professional arsonist. He's doing some extra shit here. I mean, really extra stuff, and it looks like he is a professional badass. And the best line in the film is literally him standing there with two knives, going, "Come on, motherfucker!" And it's just breathtaking to witness at certain points. But then you find out why he's special, and I'll kind of leave that out of the spoilers. I won't tell you why he's special. Or why, what's her name, wants to bang him for all eternity. Yeah, that's a fucked up little nugget all to its own, and I'll let the film tell you about that. That's just too much. And I loved it. I thought it was a great detail, but I'm not, nah. I don't need to talk about that. I live in Alabama, man. You making me feel uncomfortable. And I really have to say, I really my biggest gripe with this film is that they promised me Big Cthulhu Daddy or Dagon the God, and then they gave me CG spooky spaghetti monster. That really hurt my feelings there at the end, getting a CG spooky spaghetti monster. That's not. I have a hard time calling that Cthulhu or Dagon or even R'lyeh for that matter. And the use of the base text was good. The use of the base text was really good, but they could have done. They could do more now. I would say that, not that they could have done more then. And I feel like you got a lot more of the sort of gratuitous stuff about horror. That's sort of the appetizer hors d'oeuvre, the nudity and gore, more so than you did the Eldritch horror. And that was sort of my letdown with the film, is I wanted to taste more. If I got better Eldritch horror out of In the Mouth, or In the Mountains of Madness, In the Mouth of Madness, Jesus, excuse me. And Event Horizon with Sam Neill as an Eldritch horror. I think this film could have done it just as well. And some of it's okay, some of it just doesn't sell. Doesn't do. Oh, but I think that's gonna do it for this review. Like I said, it was a B minus, 40 out of 50. Definitely worth your time. Definitely worth seeing. If you're into horror, definitely check this film out. Make sure you leave this video a like. It has been a craptastic journey today. It has been all kinds of messy and screwed up, but hopefully it hasn't been unenjoyable. Make sure you subscribe if you want or need to hear more of my voice in these reviews. Make sure you ring the bell so you get notifications. Thank you once again for joining me, Dungeon Dwellers. I really appreciate it. Till our next adventures, stay out the water and stop messing with your sister.